my friends, welcome one more time to FHP Books. I am Felix, and on my website fhpbooks.com you can find the film reviews that I have been writing, and you can also find the links to my books that are on Amazon. Today I'm going to talk about two masterpieces of cinema. Two great Japanese films that are not only masterpieces of Japanese cinema, but masterpieces of cinema in general. These two movies are Yojimbo and Seven Samurai, both by Akira Kurosawa, the great sensei of Chambara, of Japanese samurai cinema. Yojimbo tells us the story of a ronin, of a masterless samurai, a samurai without a clan, a lonesome samurai, a lonesome warrior that arrives to a town in which two different gangs are fighting each other, and the poor people in this town, the innocent civilians, they are suffering this situation. So this lonesome samurai that arrives there, he wants to have some profit for himself. He wants to take some profit from this situation. So he starts to work for one gang, then to work for the other gang, but in reality he's only working for himself, and he wants to put these two gangs one against the other. And at the same time to protect the civilians, to protect the innocent people in the town, and so they are not harmed by this fighting, by this violence. This is more or less the plot of Yojimbo. In the case of the Seven Samurai, we have also a town where the people discover that there is a gang approaching, there is a gang of bandits that wants to rob them their harvest. They decide to engage a group of samurais to protect them, and these samurais are quite poor. They are quite poor because they are also masterless, they are also ronins, they don't have any clans, but they find them and they accept to help them, and they accept to protect them from these bandits. This is more or less the plot of Seven Samurai. So these two great samurai movies, they inspired two Western movies that were also very, very great movies in cinema history. Yojimbo inspired For a Fistful of Dollars, Italian Western by Sergio Leone, in which the plot is more or less the same. A lonesome guy that arrives to a town where two gangs are fighting each other and so on. And actually Kurosawa was angry at Sergio Leone and sued him for plagiarizing the story. And in the case of Seven Samurai, there is a movie called The Magnificent Seven that you could actually consider a remake of Seven Samurai, also in the Western context. And this shows us something. This shows us that Chambara movies and Western movies are very, very similar, have a lot of parallelisms, have a lot of things in common in everything. In the plots, in the stories, in the atmosphere, in the settings, in the characters, in the archetypes. They have absolutely a lot of things in common. And it's very easy to take one story of the samurai context into the Western context, and it will fit perfectly. And the same goes also the other way around. The same goes also if you take a story from the Western context into the samurai context. This is something that we have seen, for instance, in Il Grande Silenzio by Sergio Corbucci, The Great Silence, that is an Italian Western and spaghetti Western that tells us the story of a bounty hunter which throat has been cut, and because his enemies, they wanted actually to kill him, but he survived. He survived, but he remained mute. And that's why he is a mute bounty hunter, and he is looking for revenge against these enemies. And exactly the same story, but in the samurai Chambara context, we have in the great Japanese TV series Oshi Samurai, the mute samurai, with Tomisaburo Wakayama, who is the same actor that plays the protagonist of Lone Wolf and Cub. So, as you see, Chambara and Western movies are actually interchangeable. The stories are interchangeable. They fit perfectly from one context in the other. And also it's interesting to note that most Chambara stories are set chronologically in the same time frame as most Western movies, because most Western movies are set in the 60s and 70s of the 19th century. This was the times of the so-called Wild West, the times of the gold diggers, the times of the Indians and the cowboys and so on. This is more or less the 60s, the 70s of the 19th century. And the samurai movies are also, most of them, set in this time. That was the last decades of the Tokugawa shogunate of the Edo period, in which many samurai movies are set. There are some exceptions, and actually the Seventh Samurai is earlier. The Seventh Samurai is set, as far as I remember, in the 17th century, so in an earlier period. But anyway, both genres, Chambara and Western, have a lot of parallelisms in the structure, in the plots, in the characters, and in the spirit of the movies. You can see that they have a lot of things in common, and they have a lot of archetypes in common. And if you want to read more about this kind of movies, if you want to read more about these great movies, Yojimbo, which actually means the bodyguard, and Seven Samurai, you can take a look at my blog fhpbooks.com, where you will find my reviews on these movies and on many more. You can take a look at my books about the Satoichi saga, where I write about all the movies of the Satoichi saga with Shintaro Katsu, the blind swordsman Satoichi. It was a great series of movies, a great series of more than 20 movies with this blind swordsman as protagonist. You can also take a look at my book Lone Wolf and Cub, another samurai stories from cinema and TV, where I talk about the Lone Wolf and Cub series, about the Oshi Samurai series, Mute Samurai, and about Hanzo the Razor. And you can also take a look at my book about Western movies, about spaghetti Western, Italo Western, that you also can find on Amazon. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you in the next time. Goodbye.